What's going on, Crypto Land? My name is Phil. This is the Fun with Crypto podcast. We are in season 2, and this is episode 18. Well, I hope everybody's having a good week. I just finished an incredible interview with Ash Roulston. For those of you who don't know her, she has a website, crypic.com, which has a lot of tools and incredible information for beginners as well as novices, intermediates, and advanced about trading in cryptocurrencies and dealing with Bitcoin, and just a lot of really helpful information. Anyways, I got to know her when I first started in Bitcoin. She's all signal and no noise, and just a very refreshing, objective point of view, and also just being truthful. So it's she's the kind of person that is definitely not pandering to somebody's ego. She's going and getting objective information, and whether people like it or not, it's coming out, and I definitely appreciate it. So without further ado, here's my interview with Ash Roulston. All right, everybody, I've got a very special guest with me. When I first got into crypto, and I really didn't know the difference between, first of all, I didn't know the description of signal and noise. So it never even had occurred to me who is signal and who is noise. And the only place I really know where to go look for anyone was Facebook. And I ended up joining a group called Crypto Coin Trader. And there I started to see some really interesting posts from somebody that I could see was obviously being very objective, but at the same time was also just being very blunt. And I found that style of teaching, or at least that's the way I took it, was I found it very refreshing. Like, here was a person that wasn't pandering, to what you wanted to hear, and really just telling it to you the way that it was. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce her. It's Ash Roulston. And Ash, I want to thank you very much for joining me. I've been wanting you to come on my podcast for a very long time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Phil.
Thank you. So the first thing I want to start off with really is for all the listeners out there, could you maybe just explain your rabbit hole story, so to speak, how you got into Bitcoin, and just kind of give your background on that?
Well, I've been in crypto almost 7 years now. It's been quite a journey. When I was looking to get into crypto, I kept hearing all about Bitcoin. Bitcoin was dying. Bitcoin was having a huge bull run to like $1, which in retrospect is kind of funny. But everyone kind of steered me clear of it. They're like, this isn't going to work out. This is a bad idea. The banks won't allow this. And those were the most open-minded people that were like, the banks won't allow this. But it's funny because we have a lot of the same words said today when we talk about Bitcoin and crypto. It's the same talking points time and time again. But I went ahead and I learned all I could about it, and 7 years on, I'm still learning every single day. I'm still exploring new topics. And I put all of that education, all of that research into teaching others. You found me in CCT. I'm also in a few other groups. But the biggest thing to me is making sure that I am a place to find solid information. I don't ever want to be seen as, oh, I'm giving signals, or I'm making calls, or, I'm just making things up.
Absolutely.
I think that it's so important just to have a real source of information in the industry.
And I really just want to just clarify to the listeners, when I say signal and noise, I'm also not I'm referring to the same thing as Ash. I'm not talking about, somebody calling signals in terms of buy signals and sell signals. I'm talking about a person offering, truthful, honest, objective information. So, Ash, please continue with your rabbit hole story.
Yeah, so I got into this industry, and I've sort of never come up for air. It's been 7 years where I just keep going in further and further. This industry is something that once it pulls you in, if you're really interested in being in it, you don't leave. a lot of people will jump in or jump out and get scared, or they'll make it to the first bear market and get out. But if you're in it for the right reasons, if you're truly interested in, revolution and and people having an alternative to the traditional banking systems, redistributions of wealth models, deflationary cryptocurrencies, all of this stuff, it ends up building together to continue, um, drawing you in a way. Every time that I get on to any real forum for the cryptocurrency world, it's so much information, and you can go down a number of rabbit holes, number of directions. I was in school when I first found out about it, and I bought my very first Bitcoin. And when I did that, suddenly I had this stake in the game. I've been observing it, I've been researching it, and it was right after a huge drop. It was like an 80% drop, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, Bitcoin's dead." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I couldn't afford a whole Bitcoin. I didn't even know Bitcoin was divisible when I bought a Bitcoin." But I'm like, I couldn't afford a whole Bitcoin from now, so I hope it's not dead. But I finally bought a Bitcoin.
What year was that?
2013.
Awesome.
2013, yeah. I was a broke college student, okay? Like I was a broke with a capital B.
And so you could buy a Bitcoin back then. That says a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it meant that I didn't go out that weekend. Like, that's how much of a sacrifice it was to buy a whole Bitcoin. Now you'd have to, like, skip a semester of school.
So worth it.
Or maybe just not buy textbooks or something. But yeah, I mean, that was over 6 years ago now, and it's been a constant rush ever since.
Oh my gosh, that is absolutely amazing. Okay, so I mean, look, you've obviously been in the space for a really long time. Tell me, I know that you do a couple of things. Like, not only do I know you from Crypto Coin Trader, but also you have a website, crypic.com. Why don't tell us about it, please?
So in 2017, everybody was all about Bitcoin, all about crypto, and I saw so many people educating, but they weren't really educating, they were misinforming, and that drove me nuts. Okay, I know Phil, because you've seen me around now, but I don't think your listeners are really going to understand how bad that drove me nuts.
No,
so I
most
decided,
of them are on Twitter, so most of them aren't even in Facebook groups. I think this is going to be the first time there's going to be a higher concentration of Facebook listeners. But I'm sorry, continue.
Well, I saw all these people charging for Discord groups, Telegram groups, Slack groups, people doing Udemy courses that didn't even know what a depth chart was. I just see all of these people, and they're educating, supposedly, but it's all just misinformation. And it wasn't even intentional misinformation. It was just flat out wrong information, And that just made me so upset, and I kept putting information out there. I kept educating people, and everybody's like, "Why don't you do a course? Why don't you get on Udemy? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that?" And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make a course site, but I'm not going to charge people per course. I'm not going to charge people like a lot. I want it to be accessible. So I launched Crypic, and Crypic has an annual membership that is cheaper than Netflix. That was our goal from the beginning, to be cheaper than Netflix. I think education should be accessible. And we have a lot of public education, open education available, but for our membership that includes all of our general courses, it's less than Netflix. So that was the goal.
That's
make
amazing.
Education cheaper than Netflix.
That's amazing. And you know what? Being somebody, so I don't know if you remember this. You may or may not recall this. So you and I think, haven't really ever gone back so much on crypto coin trader. Number one, because I think it's because I'm not a shit coiner, so I don't come in with the whole, XRP is the best crypto in the world, and like I just, you don't see me making those comments. But I don't know if you remember, once upon a time, I had told you about taking a course online, and I think it was, and in no way am I bashing this course, because to some people they may get something good out of it, but it's the course that oh my gosh, Ivan Ivan on Tech does, and like Ivan is like super brilliant and everything, but I remember you telling me that I could go and get that same material for free. Like I still remember that. I remember you posting back to me that I could get that material for free, and in fact you were absolutely correct. I absolutely could. So I ended up learning that the hard way. But that was just one instance, and in no way is that person misinforming. But to your point, in 2017 it was so big, you just had to write a white paper and you got paid. So that was just one instance.
Yeah, I don't have any thoughts on Ivan on Tech's course. I have not taken it. Other than, a lot of the stuff that is taught is stuff that can be learned for free. Even the courses I teach, it's information that I learned for free. But the issue is you can go out and you can learn for free your own self-directed, self-taught journey, or you can pay somebody who's already done the journey, is going to teach you what you need to learn, what you absolutely need to learn. And I talk to people who have been in the space for, 3 or 4 years, and they're like, I learn more from just what you post, not even going into my courses, than I do from my own self-study. And a lot of people don't even know where to start. They'll Google what is Bitcoin, and then you get a page showing you Bitcoin Cash.
Exactly. And just to talk about your material, your posts are absolutely incredible. Seriously, in terms of education wise, in terms of material, like there's some people who post information where it's just a whole bunch of fluff. Like you're reading about somebody's idea. Like your posts are very factual, and there's a lot of good material in it and no fluff. So I definitely appreciate that.
I don't want to waste anyone's time by giving them fluff. There's literally 100 sites out there that all copy each other. If I'm going to give you information with the goal of educating you, I'm not going to educate you on what 100 other sites are educating you on. I'm going to educate you on what's going to make a difference in your time in the crypto industry. If I'm educating about security, when I first wrote one of my early posts on Steemit, was 21 ways to get hacked in crypto. Okay. And everybody was like, oh my God, this is amazing. But you know what? That post served its purpose. 2.5 years since I wrote that post. In the 2.5 years, every single tip on that post is widespread. At the time, everybody was like, no way, SMS 2FA isn't secure. What are you talking about? And now everybody's like, SMS 2FA isn't secure. Use an app. Use a hardware device. Use FIDO U2F. All of the stuff that was practically novel in terms of security 2.5 years ago when I write the post is now commonplace. People are getting educated, and that's my goal, is to bring education that people aren't necessarily getting. Everybody knows what the most popular cryptocurrencies are for the week. We can all see the 1,000 posts about them, the 100 people that are going, this is the new thing. Okay, great. Yes, it was new when the first news, we'll call them news sites, picked it up 24, 48 hours ago, but it's not really going to teach you anything other than if you wanted to make a trade, maybe it's some hype, but that's really been my goal the whole time, is to really have impact with the education that I bring to people. I'm actually running pop-up boot camps pretty regularly right now. They're free. Anybody can join them. and they're focused on everybody having those standard foundations, security, knowing what is Bitcoin, what is blockchain, steering clear of scams, all of that stuff. You really can't get that stuff in a concentrated format without knowing what you're doing or having somebody to mentor you in the space. And there just aren't that many people that are opting to, handhold the people coming in. And so I'm running free pop-up boot camps for anybody interested in crypto, all those crypto curious people. So it's interesting.
I think it's really awesome. I've gone through some of the posts in the pop-up boot camp, and if I'm not mistaken, aren't you going to be starting another one very soon?
One actually started today.
Oh.
Um, but I have another one scheduled to start the 22nd of April. And the link for that is pretty simple. It's a bit.ly link /Cryptic, CRYPPICK. So I'm sure you can drop that in your description.
I was gonna say I will add that to the. I'll get that from you after the show, and we'll add that to the show notes, so that we can get it on the post when it goes live. Okay, so you've got cryptic.com, and we discussed the boot camp. Now there's another way that that I also know you, is that you wrote a really incredible. I find it's, you know what, look, it's not a long book, but it has a lot of material in it, and that is Too Broke for Bitcoin. Now I know that you did a first edition, and if I'm not mistaken, you're going to be releasing a second edition. But do you maybe want to explain, because again, this goes back to people coming into the space, and you end up touching on a really interesting topic. This is one thing I love about reading your work, Ash, is that you don't just focus on one thing about Bitcoin or crypto. You focus on multiple facets, and I find Too Broke for Bitcoin, like, look, for me, I've come into this space. I don't write code. I'm a network technician, and I know how to troubleshoot a lot of different, SQL and connectivity issues and stuff. But at the end of the day, like, I can't write any code. So, how do I contribute to this space? I do it through podcasting, and I find through this book, Too Broke for Bitcoin, okay, my method is not lucrative, but for somebody who wants to make money in Bitcoin or actually earn Bitcoin, they can do so. At least through the methods that you write about in this book. So I don't know if you want to talk about Too Broke for Bitcoin, but I think people would really enjoy it.
Yeah, Too Broke for Bitcoin is actually, we're heading towards the version 2, second edition. Anyone who's already bought it gets the updated version directly to their email automatically. So that's really helpful. The Too Broke for Bitcoin book it's the result of who I was when I entered crypto, combined with maybe 24 people that I met along the way. When I entered crypto, again, I had to sacrifice to afford one Bitcoin. Okay. I know that sounds crazy now in retrospect, but $67 was a lot of money for me, and there are other people in crypto who are in a similar situation. Mine was because I was paying the man for higher education. But, there's a lot of people who are too broke for Bitcoin. I was too broke for Bitcoin. And along the way, I've encountered so many people who are also, whether it be because they're in a country where they live on $1 a day, or they're unbanked. It's very expensive to be unbanked. If you don't have the loyalty discounts banks give you, they don't charge you to cash your check. They don't charge you for this or that or the other. You're not charged extra fees for paying your utilities. There's a lot of expenses that people pay when they're unbanked that contribute to not being able to buy Bitcoin. If you're in a situation where you don't have a lot of money over your expenses, or in some case, in my favorite case personally, you're too young to use an exchange. I don't know how I get so excited when I have a teenager that's like I like crypto. I want to earn crypto, but I can't get on an exchange. And you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Actually, funny story. I was in a mom group on Facebook, and this mom posts, my son is mining some sort of cryptocurrency in his closet with all of these old cell phones. And I just want to know if it's illegal. And I'm like, it's not illegal. He was 14, okay? And he was mining using like all their old phones, whole family's old phones.
What was he mining? Do you know?
I don't even remember. It was like 3 years ago. But he was mining using old cell phones, and I'm like,
I'm trying to think
no,
of like
this
some
was
coin
before
that you could do.
electronium. Like it was.
Yeah, you're
it
right.
Was something. Anyway, he was not breaking the law, even though his mom was scared he was. I'm like, I would be more concerned about it being a fire hazard that he's mining using a bunch of cell phones in a closet that has clothes in it. But it's not illegal. Let's hop into some messages and I'll walk you through it, walk him through it. And let's get you and him educated so that he feels empowered and that you feel okay with what he's doing. And I'll give you guys some options for him to earn crypto without trying to set your house on fire. And I actually sent him a mining rig with very specific instructions of how and where to set it up.
That's amazing.
It was one of those things where it's like, oh, I'm so excited. The new generation loves crypto too. But every time I run into that, it's so exciting for me because they're into crypto before they can even legally buy crypto. They have to earn it in some way or another. They have to earn it, or be gifted it. But yeah, every time I think about that, I think about him and his mom. And is this illegal? No, it's not illegal to mine in your closet, but it might be frowned upon to do such a fire hazard type thing. But yeah, that's why I wrote Too Broke for Bitcoin. It's for those people that can't buy crypto for whatever reason. Even those who can buy crypto but may want to increase their portfolio quicker. One of the things that I talk about in Too Broke for Bitcoin is a 10% gain. Okay, 10% gain on $100 is $10. If you have a $100 portfolio and you earn $10 in crypto, you've just added 10% to your portfolio. Okay, if you have a $10,000 portfolio, $10 is going to seem like nothing to you. And if you have a $10,000 portfolio, maybe Too Broke for Bitcoin is not for you. Okay, I mean, you're welcome to buy it. You're welcome to buy it for somebody who it is for. Welcome to read it, encourage me, whatever. But you're not going to be thrilled with $10 in Bitcoin. Somebody who has $100 in Bitcoin, somebody who has $50 in Bitcoin, $10 in Bitcoin is a significant increase. It's better than a good trade.
That's absolutely right. And I think you touch on something very important. It's the percentage. Like, a lot of people sit there and they look at the dollar amount, and right there, they'll look, because of course, many people are still comparing to USD, or whatever their local currency is, and they'll sit there and they'll look at the dollar amount and go, oh, I only made $10, but what if that $10 is 10%? Like, think about it. A bank will not pay you 10% on a savings account. You won't even get 3%. Think of the inflation rate. So the reality is that if you're beating the bank, if you're beating a savings account and you're able to beat the regular cost of living inflation rate with your earning, I think that alone is something to be proud of.
Absolutely. I have one guy who, as soon as I released Too Broke for Bitcoin, I mean, he bought it within 5 minutes of that link being posted. He spends 15 minutes a day doing the methods in the book. Like, literally just 15 minutes a day. That's his thing. He lays in bed, plays on his phone, and earns crypto. Which, I mean, I can't say that I am as dedicated as him for earning crypto. But if he wants to do that, that's awesome. But, $15 a day, $10 a day, whatever. That all adds up. And if you're talking about the 1 billion people, the over 1 billion people in the world who live on less than $1 a day, or the over 3 billion people who live on less than $5 a day, that's a significant change in their financial situation. Having $10 a day coming in, even having $5 a day coming in is a significant change, and it's you don't have to spend all day doing it. So that's one of the things that I was really, really focusing on with Too Broke for Bitcoin. We talk about revolution and we talk about cryptocurrency, but no one's ever talked about how we're just recreating the same financial structures, the same wealth distribution that we have in the fiat world in crypto, because everything is focused on buying cryptocurrency. Sure, some people have gotten rich that weren't rich before, but we still have that same distribution. If you look at the Bitcoin rich list, you see the same distribution. We have to include people who are not included in the fiat wealth structures in the crypto wealth structures if we truly want it to be revolutionary.
I totally agree. It goes back to this quote, which I don't know who said it, but it's definitely somebody smarter than me. It's, Bitcoin wasn't meant to unbank the bank. It was meant to unbank us all. So it's meant to be inclusive. It was meant for all of us to be able to partake in this. So I do agree that we do see very similar wealth distributions as a result of the current state of things in the way that it is. So that is, that's a very good point. Okay, so do you have anything else to add about Too Broke for Bitcoin? I mean, I'm obviously going to post a link to. I think it has a website. I know that we can get to it from Crypic, but I'm going to post just a link directly to that book if anybody wants to purchase it.
Yeah, it's available on Crypic's website right now. When version 2 is alive, it'll be on Amazon, which will be in the next week or so.
Oh, that's awesome.
Based on whenever this podcast is live. But the Too Broke for Bitcoin community on sync.tech is live, and it's 2b4b.sync.tech. And we post earning opportunities in there fairly regularly. So
you'll have to give me that link so we can add it to the show notes.
I will. It's a complicated link. I'm sorry.
No worries. That's awesome. It's good stuff, and it's got to get out there. So we definitely appreciate it. Okay, so here we're gonna switch gears a bit away from from all the amazing material that you created into a little bit more of the social aspect. I think that there's a lot of people on. So here, you know what? I've explained this in previous episodes, but I'll give a little bit about it now. So when you get into Bitcoin, you don't know really where to go and where to find people, and where to find like-minded people, and or where to go and sort out between like-minded people and shillers. So you end up in places like Facebook and Reddit and Telegram and Twitter and Discord and Slack, and you end up in all these places, and they all have their there's all legitimate people, and there's also a lot of shills. And one place I find where you get a very high concentration of people is in Facebook. And Facebook is an interesting place because it's not really a Bitcoin or crypto platform, but it has massive crypto groups. And these groups consist of everything from, to be perfectly honest, people who are involved with some pretty big projects, people who are really serious in the space, such as yourself, that are like building proper resources to help people out, but it also has, a bunch of fly-by-night shitcoiners that just show up and, spout their crap about the coin that they're paid to shill. And then you have these other people who come in and try to, sell you signal groups. So, this is all just a giant background to, you have been in this space much longer, at least double the amount of time that I have. I pretty much got in late 2016, early 2017. You've been in since you've been watching it since 2011 and have been in it since 2013. In seeing all of these, these different people and these different styles, come through, what's your what's your take? Is it just history repeating itself, or are we getting smarter? Do we get better?
One of the biggest things for education is really the bear market cycles. You know, we see these cycles in the market, and with it, we see these cycles of information. Um, you see during the bull run, everybody has information. It's not necessarily good information, but everybody has information. And that information is focused on their goals. Okay. And you can't know what their goals are. They can be shilling to you, but you can't be assured that their information is in your best interest. It could be in your best interest. It could be in their best interest. Your interests could align, but you don't know unless you have the ability to sort of differentiate, until you have the skill necessary to differentiate. And that's a big issue that we see during the bull markets is everybody's got information, and all these new people are coming in and they're given poor information. I mean, look how many people invested in BitConnect.
Let's talk about BitConnect. No, I'm kidding.
No, that's just a whole nother day.
Yeah, that's its own. I think that could be its own episode, to be honest.
Just 5 minutes from 10 different people on BitConnect.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, I think that we see all of these bull market educators, and they all have information, but you can't really tell how accurate that information is. And then the market turns, and people slowly start to question these people that were kind of only giving them information that was in their own best interest and not in their audience's best interest. And so their audience slowly drifts away, and then they kind of fade to black, But nobody wants to hear that during a bull market. And then a bear market comes around, and suddenly it's all about education. It's about building. It's about learning. It's about growing. And so much positive stuff happens when the market is in the negative that it's crucial to us growing as an industry. We see these cycles over and over again. This is my third bear market, but I entered right after one, so that timing's kind of weird.
That was weird.
The big thing is that education becomes a priority, building becomes a priority, and you see these projects that never had any attention to build going away. That's amazing. The more people that are here to do ill by the industry that leave, the better. I mean, bye, don't let the door hit you or the good Lord split you, And now you can tell I'm from the South, sorry. But the big thing is that these communities, they form around personalities, and these personalities aren't always what's best for those communities. We've seen it in a crypto coin trader, where there have been certain personalities that are now no longer really present within the group. We saw it in CCC, the Cryptocurrency Collectors Club, which was around since 2014.
Oh, yeah.
There's about 30,000 people there. They shut the doors. I was an admin at the time. We shut the doors at 32,000 people during the 2017 bull run because we could not deal with any more people. And started a second group, the CCCB, the Cryptocurrency Collector Club for Beginners. There's way too many C's in that to pronounce. But there's like 80,000 people in that one now, and that's an open group. It's public, so everybody can see the posts in it, even if they aren't in it. But, we see this over and over again, and it's like the personalities are either good for you or bad for you. Facebook really identified the personalities for us with their new badges feature, the conversation starter, visual storyteller.
Oh, yeah.
So you see the personalities now. You just don't get a rating of the personalities with it. But it makes you see, okay, is this person really giving good information? Are they not? But it kind of allows you to see, okay, is this person a shill? If this person's a shill, they usually don't have those badges, and it's sort of become a community feature of sorts. But noobs are still going to end up there. Noobs are going to end up in communities with personalities that don't have what's best for them in mind. We'll see them on YouTube, we'll see them on Discord, we'll see them on every platform. And when it comes down to it, we need as many voices giving positive information, real information, as we have giving negative information or bad information.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I could tell you, as, from my own personal experience, you come into Bitcoin, and to your point, most people, especially today at Bitcoin's, even though Bitcoin has come down significantly, it's still, I think, out of reach for a lot of people. And, you come into Bitcoin, you see this very high price, and you say, I can only get part of one of those, or I can go and get 250,000 of those, and it's almost like, as a result of unit bias, you become a shitcoiner. It's
well, I mean, it's like,
it's really
asking
sad.
A 5-year-old, do you want a handful of pennies or do you want 4 quarters?
Thank you. It's, exactly. And people just, it really is a matter of unit bias. I kid you not. I see so many people, because I don't truly believe that these people actually believe in the merits of some of these projects. I mean, don't get me wrong, what does it make a difference if your coin is faster, if all your blocks are empty, and, there's only one person that processes any of this? It's a completely centralized, piece of garbage. I'm obviously not naming any particular coin, because that's just...
It has no security,
it's just,
and it has no network value.
Exactly. And there's plenty of projects out there that are exactly what I described, and, people are out there pumping them, and somebody who is unknowing is going to come along. So, to your point, I think it's a matter of, we can't, and somebody else said this as well, I believe it was Richard Hart, the scammers have infinite funds. The scammers can always get people to give the money, because everybody wants to get rich quick, right? But the people spreading the good word, they're it's like you're getting punished, right?
It's not what you want to hear.
Sorry?
It's never what they want to hear.
Exactly.
I get so much backlash because I'm not saying what they want to hear. When somebody asks me my opinion on the project they like, I'm like, oh, I know I'm about to get cursed out. I just know it.
Exactly.
Like, every time. I'm like, here we go again. So this project has no adoption. 0. None. There's nothing in their blocks. There's no nodes. It's just Fred in his mother's basement who started the project. Okay, let's just go ahead and move to the point where you curse me out because I don't like your new favorite shitcoin.
It's gonna be better than Bitcoin, I swear. Okay, it's faster. It's got better marketing. It's like that's really at the bottom of the day. Somebody sold me this so much better than the coin that didn't have a sales team. Like that's really what it is at the end of the day. It's like, let's
and then
be
you
honest.
get into the real scammy ones with the guaranteed returns, and you're like, oh, please no, please no, not today.
See, and you hold back, but you see, you're good. Like you go back out there. I know very few people like you. You're gonna go back out there and you're gonna spout the truth, and these people are gonna come back to you with the same argument they came back to you 6 months ago, which is the same argument they came back to you a year ago with, which was the same argument they came back to you 2 years ago with. So it's like, I don't know. I just feel like, I mean, look, I haven't been in this space for that amount of time, but I can tell you, in the amount of time I've been in this space, that's it. I've already seen the same argument come back 3 times.
Oh yeah.
So, and I can't even imagine double the amount of time. So, there you go. But just to finish, what I was saying was that we have to combat this bad information, the scam information, with the good information. And since the scammers have infinite funds, we can't possibly outmarket them with good information, because we're not going to have infinite funds. So the only thing we can do is put out as much information, if not more information, as them. And that's it. And win by, I guess by quality of information and quantity of information.
I think that as time goes on, we'll see a lot more quality information being shared. We're already seeing it in this bear market. Um, and we'll have a bull cycle come and they'll try to drown it all out. But the SEO, the search engine optimization of positive information is really established during bear markets, because during bear markets, the scammers don't have the funds.
It's a good
But
point.
we still have the information. We still have the good information. So during the bear market, we have this opportunity to sort of grassroots build our information, build our positive networks, build our positive groups, promote our positive personalities, get into the crypto sphere that we want to see all the time, every time there's a bear market. And every time there's a bear market, the positives have a little bit more staying power. They have more information out than the last time. Now, when you're looking up crypto scams, there's lists, there's sites, there's people who are actively advocating against these scams, against this, against that. There's warning signs, there's red flags, there's all of these different lists and ways to vet and due diligence checklists and all of this stuff. And, even during the 2017 bull run, those were rare. They were very, very rare. And now they're somewhat ubiquitous. We see them on all different sites. And that sort of thing is power when it comes to the next bull run, because then they have to overpower all the work that we have done. Yeah, they can outspend us all day, every day, but that's fine. They can't get their search engine optimization up when they didn't do anything for a year and a half.
That's exactly right.
So they get buried with all of the stuff that we do when they're not making money.
That's right. And I think this time we're putting out a lot of really good information and quality information. And this actually goes back to, I had a podcast interview with Dan Held, and he wrote an article called Planting Bitcoin, and it's actually a 4-part article. And there was a specific quote that he made, not necessarily in that article, but just I think on Twitter, was that it's going to be about the narrative, like the narrative compression, and being able to give an easy narrative for the average person to understand, what is quality and what is not, I think is going to go a long way. So, yeah, I think that's pretty interesting.
I mentioned my 2.5 years ago, I wrote 21 ways to get hacked in crypto. That's the sort of thing that I was really aiming for, was that easy to understand. If you do this, this is what will happen. And I think that, I wasn't at all the first person to write about security in crypto, but I was one of the first few who put it in, this is what happens, cause and effect. You do this, this happens. You do this, this happens. This is how you prevent it. And really easy to understand terms. Same with, I have a series of articles on quantum computing. It's called Quantum Computing in the Cryptocurrency Nightmare, which kind of debunks that it's a nightmare. All of this stuff for so long has been at such a highly technical level. We really have to adhere to the ELI 5 mindset. They explain it like I'm 5 mindset, and stop being so highly technical and exclusionary, and make it to where normal people can understand. Normal people can transact. Normal people can stay secure. That's a big one, especially when in crypto you are your own bank.
You're absolutely right. Exactly. And okay, so I definitely want to put in the show notes. So that article that you wrote for the 21 ways to get hacked, which, by the way, you wrote that article well before I got into the crypto space and into Bitcoin. And as you can imagine, everything was obviously still true in that article when I got in, and it's all still true today. So to your point, like that's even also a test, or I'd say a testament to the quality of the information, is that it's able to last. It's got more shelf life. Garbage information, I think, has a low shelf life. So, actually, I shouldn't say that, because you know what? There's some pretty bad lies that have lasted a long time. So you know what? I'm totally wrong. I've already disproved myself. Somehow bad information also has a long shelf life.
Well, I think that the bad information has a long shelf life because of new people, whereas good information has a long shelf life because it still applies to old people and to new people. So it's just they are able to maintain their bad information because there's constantly new people to show it off on.
That's a good point.
We don't rely on new people. We educate everybody.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So okay. So how about this, right? Like, so you're just you're getting into. Okay, let's say, because I always have this difficulty, right? If I'm a trader or I'm an investor, and I saw you wrote this nice long post that obviously gave, I think, differentiations between traders and investors, but that you also explained that it's also not just about the mindset, but it's in the way that you handle your funds for trading versus investing. I myself am an investor full time, regardless of whether it's Bitcoin or stocks, but I'm also a trader. Like, I can't help it. There's a part of me that whenever I have some spare time, if I can sit down and do it, I'll start to take a look at some charts, and I will try to make, moves on the hour, moves on the week. But my point is that, I obviously keep different funds for that, but my point is, trader versus investor, for some reason, people seem to confuse the two, conflate the two, quote unquote, trade what they invest, which I don't understand that, because then it's no longer an investment because you're trading it. So tell me, how do you help people kind of figure out their way through that?
Okay, so the first thing to understand is the traditional market. In a traditional market, a trader, they move in and out of positions pretty regularly, while an investor is going to hold long term. And the investor's advantage is that holding long term in the traditional market is lower risk, whereas with a trader, it's higher risk, and they're in position short term. And they're usually trading news or situations that have things move very fast. So in traditional world, we see long time frames, lower risk. Short time frames, higher risk. Okay, so low risk, longer time frames for investors, higher risk, shorter time frames for traders. In crypto, that risk profile for each of those is kind of different. So traders still are high risk and high reward, but investors are higher risk than traders in this market because of the time frame that they're in trades. When you look at altcoins, the failure rate is staggering. On a 3 to 5 year time frame, you're looking at a 95% to 99% failure rate on altcoins. Okay, 99% if you look at the top 500, 95% if you look at the top 100. Okay,
wow.
So you're looking at nearly everything failing within 5 years in this industry. From an investor's perspective, if they move into a position and they're looking to hold it for 3 to 5 years, in crypto, that thing is going to be dead and gone. You're not even going to be able to use it because the blockchain's not supported.
That's right.
Yeah.
The zombie coin.
Yeah, dead coins. There's a whole site of them.
I love
literally
that site.
Thousands of them. But so you can see where holding long term becomes a higher risk than trading in and out to gain profit. The whole shift in the risk profile from the traditional investing world, traditional stock market, to the crypto market is found in those failure rates. So investing outside of the top few coins can become a fool's game, if you're not accurately looking at all of that information. I actually have a write-up on this as well. I say fundamental analysis is fake in crypto, and everybody loses their mind. But the reality is that you never see fundamental analysis in crypto that takes the whole market into account. When you look at fundamental analysis in the stock market, market conditions are taken into account. Industry conditions are taken into account. You don't see that in crypto because every single fundamental analysis would end with 99% failure rate in the industry. What kind of investment does that,
Yeah.
incentivize? It's like, great, everything's going to fail. So, but fundamental analysis in crypto is largely fake. I don't see anybody being honest about the fact that most everything will be dead in 3 to 5 years. I mean, there'll be new stuff, new hype, whatever. But these projects, they're not surviving. There's very few projects that make it past that 5-year mark. And if they do, that's amazing. But most won't. What are you going to do if everything you pick is a failure, So we see that with investing in crypto. So we talked a little bit about those differing time frames, but investors in the traditional market, they're more interested in researching those fundamentals, that fundamental analysis, looking for a longer term understanding of the potential or the prospects of a project. They can research daily or at least read the headlines for the industry, but overall they buy into a position, they're in it for a long term. They're not really looking for anything other than a major sign that they need to get out now, and crypto, outside of the top few coins, you can't stay except for maybe months. You can't really stay in anything outside of maybe Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum for a period of years. You just can't. They fail. They're gone. I remember so many of the next Bitcoins, the Ethereum killers, all of this stuff. It's like, what happened to it? Oh, 6 months after it was an Ethereum killer, it's basically heading for dead coins. There's one way to kind of bring this home. Go back to 2 years ago. Go look at the top 100. 3 years ago, look at the top 100, and you'll see things on there that you're like, oh, I remember that. Where is it at now? And you click on it, and you're like, oh.
Yes.
So this high failure rate keeps many of the more informed investors in the space in a pattern of investing that looks more like position trading that occurs over a time period of months instead of the traditional investing patterns that are years. Another huge difference that we have to touch on is the level of attachment. You hear those fundamentals and you get attached to the potential of a project, and it's going to do X, Y, Z, whatever. It's going to be amazing. It's got all this speed. Nobody's using it, but it's got all this speed. Both should be unemotional. This is business, but you'll see that investors tend to get more attached to the fundamentals and potential, and that can really make it hard for you to sell when it's time to get out. So the traders, they're like, what's doing something today? Let's make some money. And that's exactly that. It's business. So that's something else that we have to really address, is that this is business. You don't need to get attached. The fundamentals are hype. They're marketing. The fundamentals are never a full picture of the fundamentals that include the market conditions in this industry. And if you keep that in mind, the fundamental analysis that people post looks a lot more like marketing than it does if you're just like, oh yeah, they're telling me about this great project.
So I think you bring up a good point. It's the lens, right? The lens that we look at the information through, and I think that's very important, because when I was looking at this through the lens of, let's say, much higher levels of ignorance, all of these garbage projects look great. Like the next Bitcoin totally in your mind is already out there. You just need to find it. Not realizing that it's, at the end of the day, either something inferior or something not worth actually owning, or you realize that nobody's actually using this. So again, it goes, that lens comes with education. You come in and your lens is clear, you're seeing nothing, and everything looks amazing. You know what I mean? Like, you don't realize that it's almost like you're like a person that can't smell, taste, or touch, and you're pretty much standing in a pile of crap. So
Yeah.
you just don't know it yet because you don't see it.
So you touch on something that's interesting to me. You know, people are identifying these trades based on how they see things. You know, and with traders, we see different traders identify things different ways. Some people trade hype, they trade events, they look for these fundamental catalysts that are going to have an impact on the charts, and they trade it, and that's it. Some people swing trade, some people scalp, some people do whatever works for them, you know, and that gives them their profit or their losses depending on their skill and other factors. But traders are not all the same. You know, you can't say, okay, a trader only does this. You know, a trader does a lot of things. You know, different traders do different things. You know, but one thing that traders should have in common is that they are not trading with their emotions. They're trading with their brains. They're trading with math. They're trading to make money, not trading to give their capital to a project that is going to fail in 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. So, I mean, I could go on for so many more topics, and it's just really amazing to have you here. If you have any final thoughts or any advice that you want to give the listeners before we wrap up.
My advice is to always verify things for yourself. You know, everybody has information in this industry, and the best thing you can do to help yourself is to verify information for yourself. I know it's so cliche, but do your own research. Make sure that what you're seeing is the truth, because everybody has a line to feed you. And whether that line works to your best interest or not is only something that you can determine if you have the information that you need to do so.
Okay, great. So, if anybody wants to reach you, because I'm sure that a lot of people try to reach you, but what would be the best place? Like, would you want to give your Twitter contact or whatnot? What would be the best place to reach you, or best way?
I mean, you probably don't want to follow my Twitter. I post a lot of randomness on there.
But you know, a lot of people like randomness, and it gets people to know people.
My Twitter is really simple. It's at Ash Crypto. I never intended to have a Twitter or to be on Twitter, but it was the only way to yell at the scammer 2 years ago.
And it's become a pretty good place. I mean, Bitcoin Twitter is a really happening place.
Oh yeah, I mean, I love crypto Twitter, Bitcoin Twitter, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
but I mean, I never intended to be on Twitter, so it kind of really influences how I treat Twitter as a platform. But yeah, my Twitter is at Ash Crypto.
I'll post it in the show notes.
Know that I only made it to yell at a scammer, so sometimes that's all I'm doing on there.
Well, that's okay. I find that still informative. So, again, Ash, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it, and catch you next time.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed this. It was fun.
Awesome. Thank you again.
All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed my interview with Ash Roulston. I'm gonna post her, her contact information, the Twitter information, in the show notes. There's also going to be the links to her other resources in the show notes. And as always, if you want to reach me on Twitter or Telegram, I am at CoinIcarus. If you want to reach me by email, it's funwithcrypto@protonmail.com. Be reckless, have fun. Catch you all next time.